Welcome once again. This is Pinnacle Professional College, and welcome to a new lecture. We've been discussing public sector accounting, and today we are going to continue our series on public sector budgeting, reporting, etc. And so today we'll be talking and delving more into what we call GIFMIS, which is the Ghana Integrated Financial Management System. The Ghana Integrated Financial Management System. It's very, very important. Very, very important. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell so that anytime we post a video, you'll be the first to receive it. So let's begin. The government of Ghana, right? Let's start with a brief overview or a brief background to what we are discussing. The government of Ghana, through the successful execution of the PFM project, will develop and implement fully what we call the GIFMIS, which is the Ghana Integrated Financial Management Information System, using the Oracle e-business suite financial software, right? So the government of Ghana has intended to implement what we call the GIFMIS through the e-business suite in Oracle. Oracle is a system, right? Supported by improved organization and business processes, the GIFMIS will serve as the official system of record to meet the government of Ghana's budget, financial accounting and reporting, disbursement, internal control and auditing requirements. So this GIFMIS will be a one-stop shop for all things related to recording the government's budget, their accounting, their reporting, their disbursements, and even caters for things like internal control and auditing. So this is a very, very comprehensive system that allows the government to be able to, do all things accounting related in terms of reporting, in terms of budgeting, in terms of recording, in terms of ensuring internal control, etc. There are two major components of the GIFMIS project under the direction of the PFM reforms. So what are these major components, right? What are these major components? First of all, let's understand a few things before we move on to that. The Director of Budget is in charge of planning and implementing the budget preparation model, right? The Director of Budget, we talked about one of the capabilities of the GIFMIS tool, that it helps in budgeting. So here we note that the Director of Budget is in charge of planning and implementing the budget preparation model, right? So the Director of Budget is in charge of that. Then you have the Controller and Accountant General, who is in charge of planning and implementing the financial accounting, financial reporting, and cash management functions. Right, so you have two components here. One is on the budgeting side, and the other is on the accounting side. Right, so the Director of Budget will take care of the budget preparation. The Controller and Accountant General will take care of financial accounting, reporting, and cash management. The GIFMIS is planned to be implemented in three project phases. And when all these phases are fully implemented, the GIFMIS will serve as a single source system. That's what I meant when I said it was a one-stop shop. Like, it's comprehensive enough that it caters for everything. It will be a single source system for budget creation and management, cash and treasury management, financial control and reporting for the country as a whole. So these are some of the things that it will be able to provide. So it helps on the budgeting side, it helps on the cash management or treasury side, and it helps on the financial accounting or control and reporting side. Three key areas. Now, let's talk about, let's move a bit down and see, let's continue this discussion. Where indicated, the data from other systems, such as those from the Ghana Revenue Authority, Bank of Ghana, or the Public Procurement Authority, and will be imported via interface or made available via integration, right? So it's possible to integrate data from other systems from the Ghana Revenue Authority, the Bank of Ghana, and the PPA, which is the Public Procurement Authority, right? So it says where indicated, the data from other systems, such as those from the GRE, the BOG, and the PPA, can be imported via interface or made available via integration. So the GIFMIS tool is flexible enough to allow for data integration. Appropriate cultural change management activities will be programmed into the project to ensure that the new system is responsive to the needs of the users and serves as a sole source of budget and financial management data within all levels of government. So this is a tool that's, there are plans in place to ensure that it's flexible enough to be able to serve the needs and respond to the changing needs of users. Now let's talk about the background. As part of what we call the Public Financial Management Reform Program, which in short you can call it PUFMARP, the initial conceptual design of the original project, Budget and Public Expenditure Management System, was completed in 1997, right? So the original design and the concept of the Budget and Public Expenditure Management System was done way back in 1997. At that time, the Oracle Financial Software Package, which we've talked about earlier, was chosen to drive the design for the country. Initially, 6 Oracle models were purchased, customized, and partially implemented in 14 pilots between 2000 and 2003. So here we are going back into time and seeing, the whole background and the whole context to the GIFMIS tool. The 6 models purchased and available are the public sector budgeting model, accounts receivable model, the purchase order model, the general ledger model, the accounts payable model, and the cash management model. To date, as we speak today, the Budget and Public Expenditure Management System project has not resulted in its being rolled out to the government-wide decentralized MMDAs, and similarly, it has not achieved the desired results in the MDAs. So this whole project around the Budget and Public Expenditure Management System, which was completed way back in 1997, it has not gotten us the required results. We have not been able to achieve the required results from this project. So hence the need for the GIFMIS project, hence the need for the GIFMIS project. So the GIFMIS project is being initiated by including these pilots in phase 1, along with the remaining MDAs, followed by a pilot rollout functionality to the MMDAs in phase 2. Full rollout to the MMDAs is anticipated in phase 3 of the GIFMIS project. It's very, very important. So this is some background. Now, if you want highlights of the background, first of all, you need to understand the BPEMS, which is Public and Budget Expenditure Management System. It was a system that was created way back in 1997, which was the initial conceptual design, right? And you need to also understand that need to understand that at that time, it was the Oracle financial software package that was chosen to drive this design. And about 6 modules were purchased. The 6 modules were public sector budgeting, accounts receivable, purchase order, general ledger, AP, and cash management. But the realization was that this budgeting and public expenditure management system, was not able to achieve the desired results. And so we see the rollout then of the GIF-MIS project, which is being rolled out in pilot stages. So let's talk about the purpose and business need. I'm sure you'd want to understand, what is the whole deal about GIF-MIS? What is the whole deal about GIF-MIS? We might want to understand what the big deal of this tool is. Overall, the government of Ghana intends to improve the effectiveness of service delivery and the allocation of scarce resources using the new tools, processes, and the best practices resulting from the GIF-MIS system, right? So the aim of government of Ghana is to drive efficiency, efficiency in the form of service delivery and proper allocation of scarce resources. One of the things that government has to deal with is limited resources, and implementing a system like this would help in proper allocation of those resources. Several businesses, different business purposes, including those in the outline below, are driving the GIF-MIS project. These purposes will be realized by building on the successes as well as the lessons learned and realized through the BPEMS pilot program. Remember, we discussed it already, the budgeting and public expenditure management system, which we discussed earlier, right? So we mentioned that the GIF-MIS, is supposed to learn the lessons from the BPEMS pilot program, which wasn't so successful. These purposes will be realized by building on the successes as well as the lessons learned and realized through the BPEMS pilot program and by the application of modern best practices in budget preparation, financial accounting, and fiduciary oversight and auditing, right? So the GIF-MIS project will be able to, learn lessons in the past and also bring a whole new dimension when it comes to budget preparation, accounting, cash management, auditing, etc. So let's look at some of these benefits or these needs. Number one, publish standard annual financial reports. The Controller and Accountant General is standardizing the preparation and presentation of the country's annual general purpose financial statements in accordance with the reporting standards that have been established by the Financial Administration Act 2003 and the Financial Administration Regulation 2004 and the International Public Sector Accounting Standards Board. So the GIF-MIS system will utilize the newly approved harmonized chart of accounts, which is also compliant with current GFS standards for all financial transactions throughout the country. So in terms of business need, it facilitates the publishing of standard annual financial reports because the GIF-MIS system utilizes, the approved chart of accounts, which basically standardizes financial transactions throughout the country. It standardizes financial transactions throughout the country and helps and therefore will facilitate the standardization of annual financial reports, because here, what the GIF-MIS system does is that it utilizes, as I've already indicated, the approved harmonized chart of accounts, right? Approved harmonized chart of accounts. These are basically codings of different accounts and therefore helps for easier identification and classification of transactions Very, very key. Number two, it also increases management reporting and query. It increases management reporting and query. Now, the GIF-MIS project will result in the production of management reports and queries of both financial and statistical data from the modules that are to be implemented. Very, very important. It's very, very important. So you have that as a need as well. Like I mentioned, it results in the production of management reports, and it helps to query financial and statistical data from the models. The project plan contains tasks that include creating requirements for both reports and queries from the new system. These reports and queries will be available on a scheduled basis as well as an on-demand at the option of the users of the data. So the GIF-MIS project helps to produce management reports, and it also has a functionality that allows users to query financial and statistical data. Number three, it enhances annual budget preparation. The Director of Budget at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning will enhance and further standardize budget preparation procedures in order to achieve and retain transparency, efficiency, and timeliness in the creation, review, publishing, and acceptance of the annual budget. Very, very key. So one of the things the GIF-MIS tool does is to enhance annual budget preparation. And we mentioned earlier that the budget preparation function lies within the remit of the Director of Budget. Of the Director of Budget. So it enhances annual budget preparation and ensuring that budgets are created in an efficient, timely, and transparent manner. It also helps to increase budget controls. One of the things that the Director of Budget is seeking to gain or seeking to enhance is controls over the budget and the periodic budget release process, right? While minimizing expenditure arrears. It's very, very important. Very, very important. And these controls become even more important when you look at them side by side with the benefits of cash management or treasury management. Very, very key. Very, very key. Now, it says, for instance, after the GIF-MIS is implemented, only those POs that are entered, edited, and approved in GIF-MIS can be processed through the payments status by GIF-MIS, right? So these are some controls that are factored into the tool to be able to ensure proper transparency and effectiveness, basically. Additionally, the provisions of the Public Procurement Act will be enforced through the automated and manual controls in place as part of the GIF-MIS project. So these are controls that are built into the system that allows for proper tracking, ensures transparency, and overall effectiveness of the budgeting and accounting process. Number 5, interface data from existing data stores. Interface data from existing data stores. Now, we talked about this briefly, that the GIF-MIS tool has this functionality that is able to allow for data integration. So data that has been collected by both existing legacy systems and newly developed systems in the MDAs will be examined as candidates for interfacing or conversion into GIF-MIS, right? So there are some information from legacy systems, from old systems that are sitting with the MDAs that will be examined as potential candidates for interfacing or even integrating with the GIF-MIS tool. These interfaces could also include data sources from places such as the Public Procurement Authority, which we discussed earlier, the Bank of Ghana, or the Developing Debt Management Model from the Minister of Finance and Economic Planning, and even from the GRA as well, from the Ghana Revenue Authority as well. All these are data sources that are potential candidates for integrating and interfacing with the GIF-MIS project. So the project plan will provide for the creation of an interface plan as one of the primary deliverables by the IT technical team. So the GIF-MIS system would have, what we call an interface plan that would be one of the deliverables to allow for this interaction and integration that we've talked about with different data sources. Now, strengthen internal controls and auditing capabilities. As we've gone through the business need for GIF-MIS, you would realize that one of the key things that comes up is controls and auditing. The GIF-MIS project will result in a system with enhanced processing controls and in standardized business processes, which can be both institutionalized and publicly communicated to ensure broader compliance across all areas of the country. So basically, it enhances internal controls and standardized auditing procedures that can be applied across, can be applied to the entire financial database and across the entire internal control map, which ensures effective and efficient auditing. So what you need to know here is that the GIF-MIS project will strengthen internal controls and auditing capabilities. Number seven. So you see, the business need for GIF-MIS projects is enormous. It's enormous. Modernize the technical infrastructure. Modernize the technical infrastructure. Modernize the technical infrastructure. A modern technical infrastructure will be required to fully utilize the features of the new system. This infrastructure includes electronic data transmission systems, as well as environments for servers and desktop PCs, and related storage and disaster recovery systems. The IT technical team will communicate with and coordinate with any work that is planned or being executed as part of the eGhana project to avoid any duplication and to ensure that there's synergy of efforts. It's very, very important. So what the GIF-MIS system is doing or is achieving is that through that process or through that project, we are modernizing our technical infrastructure as a country. And this is part of the entire eGhana project, right? To ensure that we put in place systems, electronic systems that enhances our work and ensures efficiency and effectiveness. Another thing also is that it also helps to empower local government units. It also helps to empower local government units. Very, very important. It also helps to empower local government units. So the government of Ghana, through the Public Financial Management Reform efforts, so PFM, it's Public Financial Management, intends to modernize and standardize things like record keeping, document processing, internal controls at all levels of government. At all levels of government, we need some form of standardization, and this is intended to empower the local government units, the independent local government units, in the exercise of their power to create budgets that reflects the local needs of the community that they are in. It's very, very important. So one of the things that we are trying to achieve with this GIF-MIS system, the government is trying to standardize things like record keeping, document processing, internal controls across all levels in the country. And that would essentially empower local government units to be able to own their accounting process, own their budgeting process, own their cash management process. And which would reflect the local needs of the community that they are in. A recognized industry standard, enterprise-wide budget and financial system, supported by standardized, defined, documented, and well-known operating procedures, will contribute to obtaining this goal. The Controller and Accountant General anticipates that each of the system's models will be utilized. So basically, what we are saying here is that standardization, of accounting procedures and budgeting procedures at all levels of government will help empower local government units to be able to take ownership of their own budgeting and accounting process. Number 9, it also helps to enhance and modernize the revenue collection process. Through joint use, both the cash management and account receivable modules will be utilized at all levels of government to enhance the amounts of revenues collected while current processes will be examined. All right. So there are modules in the GIF MIS system, which is the cash management model and the AR model that would, bring some form of efficiency and modernization to the whole revenue collection process. And that would help for more productive, efficient, timely, and accurate collection when it comes to revenue. Now let's look at the project scope. We've talked about the business need. We've seen the enormity of needs that the GIF MIS tool will be able to help fulfill or will be able to help solve. Now let's look at the project scope. What is the project scope? The project scope is basically the boundaries of the GIF MIS project. The scope of the project includes the full and effective implementation of the 6 Oracle e-business financial software models across the entire government, as well as the Oracle assets model for fixed assets. Remember that when we are talking about the BPEMS project, we talked about the 6 modules, the Oracle e-business suite, right? We talked about those 6 modules. Now, what the GIF MIS project does is that it includes those 6 as well as the Oracle assets model for fixed assets, right? So the following is a listing of the modules included in the GIF MIS project. Number 1, you have the general ledger. Number 2, you have the purchase order. Number 3, you have the accounts receivable. Number 4, accounts payable. Number 5, you have public sector budgeting. Number 6, you have cash management. And number 7, you have fixed assets. So you have the 6 modules, initial modules, plus the Oracle assets model for fixed assets. Very, very important. Included in the project scope are a review, analysis, and subsequent improvement and standardization to the business processes and organizations that will ensure transactions are recorded completely, accurately, and in a timely fashion. And this project scope includes things like a communications plan, a training plan, technical infrastructure plan, a cultural change plan, etc. So all these things are included in the project scope. In the project scope, you have the 6 initial models, right? Plus an additional model on fixed assets. The project scope also includes the review, analysis, and standardization of business processes as well. It also includes a communication plan, training plan, cultural change plan, etc. What does the scope not include? So scope exclusions. The GIF MIS project includes tasks in phase 2 for the consolidation of the IPPD2 application software onto the new entity-wide Oracle platform, along with related user testing and upgrades to technical features and technical documentations, right? So this is what is included. So let's move on to more about the scope exclusions. let's talk more about the scope exclusions. The IPPD2 is the payroll component of the Oracle HRMS module. During phase 2, so by now you should have realized that Oracle has different modules, right? During phase 2, a comprehensive and separate but parallel project will be prepared for the development and enhancement of the full functionality of the HRMS for full implementation from 2012 forward, incorporating things like verification of employee records, control, etc. Further controls over the creation of reasonable and accurate budget estimates for personnel emoluments are excluded from the GIF-MIS project. So under scope exclusions, we first of all talked about what the GIF-MIS project covers, right? So if you go back a little bit, you realize that we mentioned that the GIF-MIS project under scope exclusions, realize that the GIF-MIS project includes tasks in phase 2 for the consolidation of the IPPD2 application software onto the new entity-wide Oracle platform, right? So we have the consolidation here. So that's part of the GIF-MIS project. Now you have also that during this phase 2, a comprehensive and separate but parallel project will be prepared for the development of the full functionality of the HRMS module, right? But we see that one of the things that are excluded from the GIF-MIS project is that if you look at this point, it says further controls over the creation of reasonable and accurate budget estimates for personnel emoluments are excluded. So controls around budget estimates for personnel emoluments are excluded. They are not included. They are not included. That's very, very crucial that I need you to remember. Similarly, changes or upgrades to systems that ensure effective control over taxpayer registration and management and control of specific long-term treasury debts are excluded from the project, right? So number 1, controls over the creation of budget estimates for personnel emoluments are excluded. So personnel emoluments controls are excluded. Number 2, changes or upgrades to systems that ensure effective control over taxpayer registration and control of long-term treasury debts are excluded. So 2 things here you need to keep in mind, or 3 things probably: personnel emoluments, taxpayer registration, and long-term treasury debts, right? These surround the exclusion from the GIF-MIS2. So number 1, controls for personnel emoluments. Number 2, changes or upgrades to taxpayer registration. Number 3, control of specific long-term treasury debts. They are all excluded from the project. These systems may, however, provide data interfaces into GIF-MIS or receive data as output from GIF-MIS. So even though they are excluded, you can have data interfaces and data integration there. Now, what is the project objective? What is the project objective of the GIF-MIS? Number 1 is to identify and minimize duplication of efforts. Now, and that's an efficiency objective, to minimize the duplication of efforts. Number 2 is to minimize paper-based record keeping. The government does not want, paper-based record keeping, because papers can get lost and papers are not efficient. Number 3, upgrade the skills and tools of users along with those responsible for financial accountability. So it's also developmental. Through the GIF-MIS projects, we are able to upgrade the skills and tools of users. Number 4, provide a single source of data. That's very, very crucial. When we're discussing the GIF-MIS system, we said it's a single source of data. Now let's look at some specific objectives. Number one is to implement a budget and financial accounting and reporting system that provides for the enforcement of requirements found in the country's legal framework, such as the Public Procurement Act and the Financial Administration Act. So the specific objectives are to implement a budget and financial accounting and reporting system that we have discussed at length, right? So that's the first one. Document, develop, and communicate recommendations for legislative changes. The specific objectives are to document and communicate any recommendations for legislative changes as a result of the planning and implementation of the project. Number three is to recognize any organizational changes that are indicated by the implementation of the GIF-MI system, right? Are there any organizational changes, that the GIF-MI system is indicating as a result of its implementation? So we need to recognize those organizational changes. Number four is to plan, design, and install a modern, reliable, efficient, and fully functional technical infrastructure network, right? So that's one, specific objective, to provide a technical infrastructure, that allows for the timely exchange of information among the central government, the MMDAs, the MDAs, the Bank of Ghana, etc. Number five is to provide documentation of business processes, workflows, and approval levels to ensure, timely compliance across all government units, right? Very, very important. So we have the documentation feature. You have, it's being a fully functional technical infrastructure. You have communicating recommendations for legislative changes, etc. And the one that you should not forget is, it helps to implement a budget and financial accounting reporting system. That's essentially what the GIF-MI project is all about. Okay, so some more specific objectives, right? Some more specific objectives of the GIF-MI project. Minimize duplication of efforts, which we've already discussed. Provide for knowledge transfer between predecessor and successor candidates, right? When you have a system like that, it allows for easy knowledge transfer, because in these organizations or these different government units, people go and people come. So if you have a system is easier to, hand over and provide for effective knowledge transfer for people, for candidates who are in a position of fiscal responsibility. Very, very important. Another thing that it also helps is to provide a better oversight of MMDA activities. The government wants oversight. So having a single source system will provide that oversight over all the government units. Number 9, provide for improved communications. Once you have a single source system like that, it enhances communication between MDAs, MMDAs, and all those government units, which enhances, or improves financial management and governance. Number 10, it provides for the ability to budget, track, and monitor projects and grants. So the tool or the system, the GIF-MIS tool, will be able to help for budgeting and tracking. It's very, very important. Number 11, it improves the administration of the revenue collection process, which I think we've discussed very well. So it helps for the proper administration of revenue collection process, because you have the AR modules and the cash management modules. Number 12, it permits the amounts from the Annual Appropriation Act to be entered into the General Ledger module to act as a high-level budgetary control. So the amounts from the Annual Appropriation Act, it allows it to be entered into the GL module which serves as a control, right? So it permits those amounts from the Annual Appropriation Act to be entered into the GL module, which acts as a high-level budgetary control for each budget year. Number 13, it provides for the identification, control, and tracking of budget modifications and movements of authorization between budget accounts of administrative heads. It provides for the identification, control, and tracking of budget modifications, right? So it has that tracking feature that allows you to track the budget and any movements of authorization between budget accounts. So the objectives, or basically the benefits of the GIF-MI system are enormous. There are more benefits to this. That we can go on and on and on about. Let's look at some more objectives. So another objective that we can talk about, as we see in number 14, is it minimizes the amount of the volume of and the frequency of cash expenditure arrears and commitment arrears through the effective and universal use of the PO module. So one of the things that the PO module in the GIF-MI system does is it helps to minimize commitment arrears, cash expenditure arrears, which is a very, very good functionality of the system. It also provides for adequate tracking and reporting of expenditure arrears. So very, very important. As we've gone through these specific objectives, one of the things you would realize is the tracking feature. So here you can track expenditure arrears with the management's goal of isolating root causes. Another thing we see here in number 16, it helps to permit more efficient entry, tracking, and reporting of donor programs and projects in the budget and financial accounts. Again, we see here the tracking of donor programs. Number 17, design the GIF-MIS general ledger so that it permits distinct and transparent records of transactions. It's very, very important. So the GIF-MIS has a module, which is the GL module, which permits the transparent recording of transactions. Number 18, it also helps to lay the groundwork that will lead to the ability to clarify and amend the FAA, and regulations to require that all IGFs are accounted for. So basically, it helps to lay the groundwork, right? It helps to lay the groundwork to ensure that all IGFs are accounted for in the financial statements. So it provides that platform to ensure that all IGFs are accounted for in the financial statements. Number 19, I guess, it provides for the development of a treasury single account. We talked about the treasury single account in our prior videos or lectures. It provides for the development of a treasury single account that will help to consolidate government cash balances in the Bank of Ghana. So these are some of the specific objectives of the GIF-MIS system or GIF-MIS project. There are enormous objectives that would really help the government as a whole. This is where we'll bring this lecture to an end for today. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do so and hit the notification bell so that anytime we post a video, you'll be the first to get it. Thank you and have a good day.